All right, another patron request here. This time, the follow up to Piranha 3D with Piranha 3DD. Uh, it's funny. I don't know if this was on purpose or not. I don't remember if they wrote that in their request. But funny enough, both of these films, they also asked for teeth, which we just did an hour and 20-minute long discussion on. That was probably the most unhinged and insane conversation we've ever had. So much so that I'm actually like nervous about posting it, which I don't ever do. But yeah, they both feature guys having sex with a girl and their dick getting bitten off, basically, while they're inside of her. So I thought that was an interesting little connection here. So, yeah, Piranha 3DD. This is one I saw in theaters, of course, but did I see this in double D? Did I see this in 3D? Actually, that would be triple D, right? 3 double D or 3D would be 3Ds. I don't remember. Maybe I'm not a big 3D fan, and man, there's so many gags on this to make it 3D, where a lot of things are like coming at the screen, of course, as is always the case with the 3D movies. Um, What's funny is that Avatar is the movie that came back into this like multiplexes and popularized the 3D craze again, and got everyone on board to like making 3D movies, and everything was like converted to 3D for a while there, until it kind of lost its allure, and now you rarely see 3D these days. They're still there. Like my theater still plays it, but you don't see it as much. Like after Avatar, it was like every movie. They were making every movie 3D because that movie made $3 friggin' billion, 2.7 the first time. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But they of course were like, how can we jump on this train? Because obviously you can charge more per ticket when it's 3D. And so yeah, we were just getting a mass amount. I remember Fright Night came out in 3D. Obviously, a lot of different franchises, both in horror and otherwise, had a lot of 3D releases, Final Destination and whatever. So, yeah, this is a very popular thing to do. And it's just not something that I care for. I don't think it adds anything to the movie. It just does nothing for me. So, never been a fan of 3D, but I will say the coolest 3D I ever did see in a movie was Avatar, because James Cameron just knows how to do shit, and it was just the movie itself had this really cool 3D look to it. Um, like the computer screens were all like coming out of the screen. There was nothing like where they were like purposely like going up to the camera and putting things into the camera, like nothing stupid like that. But speaking of James Cameron, right? Funny enough, he supposedly directed Piranha 2: The Spawning, which I still believe he did not. I believe him when he said what he said. Anyway, so this movie stars Danielle Panabaker, and yeah, I mean, this has a really low rating on IMDb, and I remember it being a bit of a disappointment after the first one, because while that movie is goofy, because it is set in a lake, and there's this big spring break attack, and there's all these different places that they can go. Writing this, and I get the allure of doing it, right? Of like putting it in a water park, that's fun. But once you get to the actual attack, it's a water park. It's pretty easy to get out of the water. If you're in a lazy river, or if you're in a wave pool, if you're whatever. The wave pool might be a little more difficult, but most of the water area in a water park is small. It's very small. And I know they set up the sequel at the end here, which never ended up happening, where now they've went into their next stage, because at the end of the first one, those were the babies, right? And we got the bigger ones, the massive ones. Those were just the babies. And I was wondering if we were going to stick to that here. I doubted it because I didn't remember any huge piranha. These are just rebirthed piranha that we see in the opening with Gary Busey, as well as Clu Gulager, who's the dad of the director. And you see this like cow, I think, is in the water, and it's got all of these baby piranhas in it, and it's like farting them out, and then they blow it up with gas. It's such a juvenile, ridiculous, silly film. It's written by Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton, who wrote the Saw movies, as well as plenty of other movies. I've mentioned them on here a lot of times. I actually even got to interview Marcus Dunstan on the channel. And yeah, I mean, we do not ever really. The movie does start with acknowledging the Lake Victoria massacre, so like this is a direct continuation. Christopher Lloyd returns, Ving Rhames' character returns, the guy from Human Giant, whose name I'm totally blanking on, also returns with him. He's like his helper. So yeah, the Lake Victoria thing is acknowledged, but they also show that area has been like cordoned off, quarantined. It is no longer habitable. No one lives there anymore. No one goes in the lake. It's a wasteland, which actually makes sense, right? Like that is what it would be. If you had something like that in there, that were these like ravenous piranha that were huge, especially in the end, we see that no one survives because you've got these massive things. You'd have to send in like a crew, but this has opened up this underground thing that releases all of these. The place would probably never be able to open to the public again, so they shut it down. And I don't know if they went in and cleaned them all out or whatever. But we're once again dealing with like babies. So these are the babies again. Eventually they should grow up to be massive, but the next stage of their evolution, which happened very quickly, mind you, maybe because they were coming out of a... No, because I think the one in Christopher Lloyd's tank actually is from Victoria and not from this new strain that's in this other place, this freaking, what's it called, Merkin County, Arizona, which is another like body of water. But the one he has is from the other one. Why it's still small when this is a while later? You would think he would have gotten really big. I don't know. The movies don't really obviously acknowledge any kind of reality, so I wouldn't overthink it. But yeah, anyway, so after this ridiculous opening, and we are not dealing with the big piranha, as well as what I said, like the evolutional stage of them walking. This seemed to happen very fast for these ones. They happened at like the same time conveniently for the ones that he has, because he's had it in the tank for a long time, and they're both exhibiting the same evolutionary changes in the same moment. That's all ridiculous plot convenience and whatever. I don't really care. But this isn't without precedence within the franchise, right? Like the original Piranha 2 has the next stage of their evolution, which is flying, right? Because one of the hardest things about writing about these aquatic villains is that if you stay out of the water, you're fine, and the writers are always trying to find ways to even the odds and put the people in a situation where they can't get away from the water for whatever reason, and that becomes very difficult to do without making it feel silly. Not that this wouldn't, not that walking piranha or flying piranha isn't silly. It is silly, but it still makes it hard to do. It is a bit of a writing challenge. So it's like, well, what if they could get out of the water, but if they could just walk? I don't know if that means they can breathe, or can they have can they breathe both water and air, right? I who fucking knows? But yeah, making them fly, making them walk eliminates some of those issues. And I would have loved to have seen 3 triple D. But yeah, this has a horrible rating, 3.8 IMDb score. No one was really enjoying it, and I was attributing to the fact when I got on this whole long ass tangent, but I made my way back, that the massacre in this is limited in scope because of the constraints of a water park, right? It's a small area, a small body of water, and therefore it can't really last very long. So you have to have a lot of buildup to this eventual water park massacre that we all know is coming. So they have to set up all this other stuff out of there. I actually, I remember watching this movie again years ago. I saw it in theaters, came out of it like, oh, it wasn't as fun as the first one, but I liked it, of course. It plays to my lower freaking instincts. Uh, it's like it's got a lot of nudity. It's got some good gore here and there. Nothing like the first though. Like the first has some really gnarly gore. This has some. This has some good stuff for sure. But it's toned down, which is actually kind of surprising because this is John Gallagher directing this. And, with him doing the Feast movies, because this is all of the people behind the Feast movies. And funny enough, the guys who wrote the first one are actually the guys who went off and took the torch from Dunstan and Melton for the Saw movies. They took over Jigsaw, Spiral, and Saw X. So it's kind of funny. It's flipped here, but yeah, you would think the guys behind Feast would have really packed in the gore, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, you can only do so much with an R rating. Maybe there was a harder cut of this, and they had to cut it down. And with the MPAA, they won't fucking tell you what you have to cut to get the rating. They'll just send it back and be like, this is NC-17. And then they have to like kind of figure out. I think some places maybe get a heads up, bigger studios and whatnot, but they really hate horror movies and don't seem to give them notes, or at least never did in the 80s. Because any documentary I watch, especially Friday the 13th ones that talk about the MPAA, they're like, fuck these guys. They never told us what we could and couldn't cut, and they really fucked us over. So that is a shame. So I don't know what they did and did not cut out of this, but an unrated cut would have been nice had it existed. The opening for the ad in the opening of this, that freaking champ from Anchorman is shooting, is so ridiculous, so over the top, so Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton's humor style. These guys are very, very juvenile with their humor, and I got a good laugh out of just how sexualized things are, all of the connotations, that are being thrown in there about sex, and just explicitly at times too. It's not even trying to be subtle in any way, shape, or form. But this kind of, honestly, I don't know, man. I've seen some pretty wild commercials. You guys remember the old Carl's Jr. commercials where like bathing suit models, swimsuit models would fucking like eat these burgers, and they were in these like really skimpy bikinis, and they were eating these massive $6 burgers, and the ketchup was like running down on their tits and stuff. I mean, sex sells, right? And I don't know if you could be this explicit though. Some of the shit he says in this, I didn't write it down, but there was some pretty ridiculous stuff there. And then, this place also features, I guess he could just be doing online promotion. I doubt this would play on like, network television or city television. They would, of course, no way play this shit. But, with him having David Hasselhoff there, that's a big draw. And he doesn't seem to mention that in the commercial that I remember. It's, of course, that's convenient because it's to be revealed later as a gag, as a joke. So they can't. Although the commercial does get cut short, so maybe they were gonna tack it on at the end. That actually makes sense, so I'll go with that. I'm trying to overanalyze this movie, which is absolutely absurd. He shows his stepdaughter the adult pool with the completely nude women. The Russian girl that is swimming around is full on, head to toe, naked. I've been to adult pools in Vegas. I've went to a couple, and I will say that the only women that ever get topless in the topless pools in Vegas that I've ever seen, and I've been to a few of them now, are like 40, 50-year-old women who have had their tits done recently, or at least seemingly recently. But like, I shouldn't say older women, of course, because I'm fucking 43. So, but 40s, 50s, somewhere in that, more like 50s. I'd honestly say more like 50s. 50-year-old plus women with boob jobs. That's like all you see. 20-something-year-olds, not at the ones I ever went to. Not at the ones I ever went to. They were still nice. I wasn't complaining. It was very noticeable that every woman from like 20s and 30s was had tops on, every single one of them. And then any woman over the age of like 45 and above were mostly topless. So I found that kind of odd. More comfortable with their bodies, I'm sure, and just were like, I don't give a fuck. And anyway, I just I didn't mention the pool with the cooch cam, the cooch cam. Oh my good god, this does not really play into the gags as much as I would have thought it would have. At the towards the end, he does get decapitated, and you do see his head being eaten by the fish on the cooch cam for like 1 second or less. It's very quick. I think that they should have played that out a little bit more, written some kind of better gag, but maybe they were under the gun with this one. I feel like this came out pretty quick, so they probably had to return in this script and film this fairly fast, which of course can really cut down on quality. But I did have a good time. I did have a good time. I laughed a good amount throughout this. This is an absolutely absurd film, and I totally understand why people wouldn't like this. But for the more underdeveloped brains like myself, it was a good time. So the blonde friend who wants to lose her virginity, who I've seen in tons of films, I don't know her name, but there's actually a scene where her and her friend are talking about, I think Ashley is the name of the friend. It doesn't matter. She actually is like, she's worried because her, somebody had sex and they had a flipper baby. That's so ironic, because I literally just showed Kaylee Kids in the Hall Brain Candy last night, and she was like not understanding the flipper baby joke in there, and she's like, flipper baby? And I was like, yeah, it used to be a joke. Kids were born with flippers or whatever. And she's like, oh. And then boom, right here, 2 nights in a row, flipper baby comments. It's just super random and unexpected. Anyway, when they go and swim, the blonde girl and her guy she wants to lose her virginity to, they go swim in open water. I say this a lot on the channel. I have a open water phobia. I don't like it. I don't like not knowing what's in the water. And then when they're like showing the footage under the water and there's all these like particles all over the freaking place of all sorts of different things. Oh, all this. No. What? Especially that girl jumped in nude. She's got a vagina. She's got a freaking open area. And she's swimming around in there with all that stuff floating up. No. Gross. No, thank you. I don't like swimming in open water. I like sticking to pools. I'm just not an outdoorsy kind of guy. I will admit that. I'm not a camper. I don't like going out into the wilderness, and I don't have any desire to be like a mountain man and live off the land. And it's cool. I think it's really cool. I think it's commendable. I think it's tough. I think it's really, badass that people can do it. But I'm just not that kind of guy. I'm just not like a survivalist, outdoorsy kind of guy at all. I like being indoors. I like being air conditioned. I'm a wimp in that way. I'll admit it. It is what it is. So they jump in the water. She gets bit. This in like impregnates her or something. I don't. Did it swim up inside of her? Is that what happened there? Like, I'm confused on what happened. I have no idea why this thing's inside of her. Like, it swam up into her vagina. It was small and it swam up in her and then it grew. Is that what happened? I don't know, because she's like, I don't like what you're doing. Stop it. And I would assume she thought he was fingering her, and it was just a fish wiggling its way up into her, and then somehow it's up in her stomach though. Like, you see it moving around up in her stomach. That's what doesn't make any sense. Like, you're I don't need to explain fucking female anatomy to you, but the female anatomy does not go up into the stomach. It's not up in here. Okay, it's much lower. So I don't understand why it's swimming up around in here, and then somehow it bites onto his dick, and she's like, fine, right? Because she gets up after it comes out, and she's like, oh, I'm fine now. I'm feeling better. And it's like, what? I guess if it was no, it wouldn't make any sense. None of that makes any sense to me. Like, it would have to burst through. Doesn't matter. As I said, I'm overthinking this movie. I should not be doing it, but I can't help myself. So yeah. Speaking of Ashley, that's her name. I'm almost positive it's Ashley. But she makes her boyfriend pray with her before they have sex, and she's like talking to God and being like, I know you frown on premarital sex, but you'll forgive us, right? And like, okay, now you can fuck me. Like, saying grace basically before sex, or like asking for forgiveness pre-coitus. That's insane. That's fucking, no way. That's crazy. I have a line, and that's definitely one of them. But speaking of Ashley, she's black, and of course, I talk about this. I talk about a lot of different forms of what nudity is acceptable and what you see and whatever. And I was literally just talking about in Teeth how the levels of nudity in film, of like what is acceptable to what is the most unacceptable or the least shown. And I was saying like an actual vagina, like labia, like actual vagina, not just pubic hair vagina, that's rare on a do itself, but an actual like vagina, lips and all is like the rarest thing in a film. You're never gonna see that. But one other thing that's pretty fucking rare, weirdly, and I've always noticed this in horror and movies in general, and of course it's not completely elusive, like it happens here and there, of course, but is black women naked. It is so rare. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's like a cultural thing where they're like, no fucking way, or is it like a racist thing where the directors or whoever are not hiring them because they're like, I don't want to put them in the movie, or like, what the fuck is that? Why is there so rarely black women naked in movies? Like, if you ever see these movies that are loaded with strippers, loaded with like, lots of naked women at the beach or whatever, like look through the Piranha movies where there's tons and tons of nudity. There's tons of like spring break chicks and this and that, and they're all taking off their tops and they're shaking their tits, and you have the character that's supposed to be the Girls Gone Wild guy in the last film, and he's got these girls around and they're all models that are taking off their tops and whatever. They're never black women. Why is this the case? Why are black women never naked in movies? I'm not saying it's never, but it's so infrequently that it feels like never. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know why that is. Have you guys ever noticed this? Or you guys probably just don't care about nudity in film like I do, so you're not really ever noticing it. Like, you're like, you see a boob and you're like, oh, there's boobs. But I'm always like, it's white women probably 90% of the time. In any, like in foreign films, whatever, everything I watch. Like when I watch Japanese movies, when I watch Asian films, Asian culture typically doesn't show nudity. Like sometimes, but there's real light on the nudity. Anyway, this is not important. I just, has anyone else noticed this? What the fuck? Is it just white women are just much more likely to like get talked into getting nude on camera? Is that what's happening here? I don't know. Um, but yeah, all right. Where are we going? Oh, so she's asking for forgiveness, and then he gets handcuffed, and he's like sinking in the car. She bails on him, but she does just get on top of the car and scream for help. Now, why the car's so far out? Like, if a car went out and started to sink, would it like continue to keep moving until it sunk? Because like if you watch flood videos, like where like hurricanes happen or whatever, and there's cars in the street, they can get picked up and they get moved. They move with the current. But this is typically with, I don't know, that's typically with like a lot of current that's pushing the car. I don't see like, I feel like the van would go in and it would just, because of the weight, it would just continue to keep plummeting. I don't feel like it would be pushed out because there's no current to be pushing it, right? It's a lake. So why is she so far out? It should be right there. It should be right towards the shore. She should be able to just jump off the van. Why she didn't go through the back doors of the van either? Why she goes through the front when the back doors should not even have, like, there was barely any water on them at that point. It was still sticking kind of ass out. So like, why didn't she go out the doors? I don't get that, and I don't understand why she didn't just jump off the van and go to shore, because she's like, I'm gonna go for help. But then they kind of show it, and there she's like further out, which once again plot convenience. It just, I don't think that would happen. I think it would just like go in the water and kind of just like slowly go forward, like in Psycho when the car won't sink and he's like sink sink, or Salt Lake SLC Punk, sink damn it. And he's like, that's why they call it the Salt Lake. Anyway. And then, let's see. Yeah, so she ends up dying. I guess she gets eaten. We don't really see that happen. We see him get attacked. We see his hand get cut off, and of course, it comes out the camera 3D style. And then they don't. I don't think they find his body, but they do find her, and only just like part of her face is eaten, and the rest of her is totally fine, which is weird. And then so we go back to the water park, and the dude, the fatter dude with the curly hair, who I've seen in quite a few movies, he always plays like a gross character. He's fucking a water jet and is like totally open about it, and is just like, oh man, it's so wet. Like, what, dude? No fucking way. No way. And like, that guy would be like, oh my god, I'm caught. And he would like be like, I wasn't doing anything. No, he's like open about the fact that he's doing this. That's crazy. I guess at this park he feels like he has free reign to do whatever he wants because the owner is a pervert, and he's like, I can be a pervert too. And then the girl throws up and he jumps into it on purpose. What? Who jumps into vomit? Like, he like jumps onto it with his feet, like splashes it, and then like continues to run away. He thinks it's funny. Is that what it is? Why is he jumping into vomit? That was so gross. And then the dock scene with Danielle Panabaker and the blonde girl, the virgin. That whole scene is absurd. They're knocking boards out of the dock, and they're jumping up, and they're knocking them in the water. She gets knocked in the water like 3 different times. She's on one side of the dock and it's moving this way, and she decides to put her weight and go onto the other one besides the one their friend's on. Her friend's holding her, so why she wouldn't go towards her friend when she has the pole on her. Like, none of this scene makes absolutely any sense. It's so stupid, but that's the fun of the film, is how stupid it is. So then they make their way to Lloyd, Christopher Lloyd's character, the scientist from the first movie, who's all excited about his hits on YouTube. And then We find out here that Barry, her like friend, is in love with her. Of course, you can tell from moment one, and then there's a really cute moment in here, and I know this is like a silly, stupid movie, but you should take a lesson from this, and at least in my opinion, when Barry divulges, especially the way he divulges it, which is just so casual and like he's not doing it to flex or anything. He's really just saying it because to him it's like, well, duh. But she's like, you read. She wants to be a marine biologist, and he's like, I read a marine biologist book. Or she's like, you read a marine biologist book, and he's like, yeah, I wanted to see what what you were all in, like what you were all about. That right there is the kind of person you want to be with. That kind of person who wants to show interest in what you're interested in because they want to have a deeper understanding of you, and they want to have something they can try to connect to you on, and they try to like understand you better. That is a green flag. We talk about red flags all the time. No, we don't talk about green flags enough. So remember that. Like I always did that in my relationships. That's I think honestly one of the benefits of dating so much when I was younger is I became a pretty multifaceted person, a very versatile person, because every time I would date a girl, she would typically be into something different than my last one, and I would always want to show interest in whatever she was interested in. So I would read a book, or I would watch this, or I would do whatever, take class, or study up on something, whatever. And in doing so, I definitely learned a lot of random shit. If you haven't noticed, I'm a very weirdly trivial person who knows all sorts of stupid things. Um, and a lot of that came from showing interest in my friends too. Like I just when I have people that I care about and they're really into something, typically I like to show some level of interest in it. So I take a moment to try to learn something about what they love so that I can show that I care. It's a way to show that you care, and it's a genuine way to try to connect with someone. So I thought this was a very sweet moment, and something where she does take notice of it. She definitely does. She like kind of, it's like a little note. But later in the movie, which is kind of a vibe for some dudes for sure, she's like, when he admits his love to her, she's like, I thought you were gay. Which actually plays pretty well into the film because of her kind of obliviousness to him when he's so obviously into her. But this just shows how disconnected she is from it in general. Another plot convenience that he ends up getting her in the end. But hey, man, he saved her life, and she now sees him as an option because she thought he was gay. So it's believable enough, especially like extreme circumstances. Although, be careful of falling in love under those circumstances, says Speed. Where's my Speed fans at? Guess we're just gonna have to base it on sex. Great movie. Anyway, and then the scene with the blonde chick. She's like, I don't feel well, and I don't know if I'm going to, so I don't want to die a virgin. And he's like, oh, and she's like, fuck me. And he's sitting there, and he's like, oh, I don't know if I. And she's like, just come inside of me, and I'll leave. I'll let it be. I'll leave you alone, or whatever. And it's like, oh my, this is the most male dialogue ever written in a film of all time. I mean, you are literally like attacking man's biggest weakness imaginable. Come take my virginity and come inside of me. I'm begging you. Get the fuck out of here. That is so ridiculous. And then, of course, he does. He ends up getting his dick chomped onto by this piranha. He pulls it out, runs over, grabs a knife, and for some reason, his first thought there is to cut his dick off. Cut it at where the fish is biting into. Cut the dick off. Not stab the fish to try to get it to let go. Kill the fish so that you can pry it open and pull it off to keep your dick. No, just cut the dick off. That's insane. I don't know any guy that would do that. I feel like I was thinking about it when I was watching this and being like, if this was a Saw trap, which is kind of funny because these guys went on to write Saw. Um, if Jigsaw put a guy in a dick trap and he was like, all you have to do is cut off your dick and you can get out of here, I feel like a lot of dudes would just die. I feel like they would just sit there and be like, I'm not, like, there is no life without my dick. I'm not leaving without my penis. I feel like they would all just be like, I can't do it. I can't do it. They try to cut the lock off. They try to do anything. So the fact that this guy just grabs a knife and just lops his dick off instead of just trying to kill the fish is so disconnected from any kind of male reality, in my opinion. Who agrees? And then, yeah, I mean, okay, but to be fair, the blonde girl, while they're having sex, she is yelling out like, "Stop! Something's wrong" or whatever, and he's not listening. He's like, "Oh my god, like this feels so good. I'm so close." Like when a girl starts screaming, "No," you stop. End of discussion. There is no like, well, I mean, I was so close, and it was just like, no. When a girl says stop, you stop. It's just, yeah, you gots to. Anyway, moving on. Not like that's not important. Of course, that's insanely important. I'm just saying. Let's move on. And then, yeah, we find out that the cop that she was dating is no longer dating, but may get back together with, may not. Doesn't really care about her. He like kind of laughs when he's like, "Yeah, she went in and checked it for me, like, you dumb bitch." And then he's crooked. He's getting paid off by the dad. We get a Nightmare on Elm Street homage shot in the tub of like between her legs. Of course, Danielle Panabaker is not going to show her nudity, so that's a shame. Because she's in this. She's in Texas Chainsaw. The beginning, and then she's in a really, really cool, underrated, overlooked. I never use the word underrated. It's probably not underrated. I'd have to look at the rating, but ratings are incapable of being underrated. Like, the whole point of a rating system is that something isn't biased. It is a collection of opinions to create one average score. That's why I don't use the word underrated. Underrated makes no sense to me. It's underappreciated. The rating system in itself, although these days that's actually starting to become untrue, because there is review bombing. Look at the most recent Snow White movie. I'm not saying the fucking rating on that movie should be like 8s or anything like that, but it shouldn't be a 1.7 or whatever the fuck it is at now. There's no way. I haven't seen the movie, but I 100% guarantee you the movie's not a 1.7. There's no fucking way in hell. I saw the trailer. The trailer alone is not a 1.7. That's review bombing. That is underrated. There's a very rare case of an actual underrating to me where I'm like, no, because people are purposely manipulating the rating system, then that makes it underrated. I know I'm being way too hyper fixated on the literal like definition in my head of like ratings, and this is why I get annoyed with people if underrated. But everything online is hyperbole. It's all hyperbolic bullshit. Right? Everything in online has to be the greatest thing ever made or the worst thing ever made. There is no nuance. There is no like balanced opinions on anything where you can be like, I've given plenty of great reviews to movies. I've been like, I really liked this movie. Lots of different movies that I've talked about on this channel, like Maxine, which I gave like a 4 out of 5 to, but I was just disappointed in it because I wanted it to be higher. I haven't went back and rewatched it. I hope I come up on it in a second viewing. I will eventually. But I get shit on for that review because they're like, "Oh man, I can't believe you hated this one." I'm like, "Oh my god, I say in the fucking review many times I really enjoyed this movie. This is crazy. There's no balance to anything." But yeah, anyway. So the underrated movie. Holy shit, I didn't even say the title, and I almost moved on. Thank God I came back. Time Lapse. Time Lapse is a very cool movie. Danielle Panabaker stars in. Really, I am a massive fan of sci-fi horror. Like anything with a really unique premise and a like a couple characters or a few characters kind of stuck in a situation, wait further instructions, meander, coherence, like exam, circle, cube. There's plenty of these. Sam was here. I can go on and on. Radius. I love these types of films. They are my favorite types of films. I will say those are my absolute favorite types of films. And anytime I see one, it immediately like goes up on this pedestal. And Time Lapse is one of those films. I love that concept of that film, and she's in it, and there's even like a sex scene with her in it, and of course, like, no, she doesn't have to show anything. It's like I've gotten, she's teased it so many times, I can't handle it anymore. Okay, and then we get the Hasselhoff stuff. He's like singing. This guy was huge in Germany as a singer. He became such a joke. He really did kind of like sell out his image, although I don't think he was ever taken seriously, but he did become kind of like a walking meme before memes were even a thing. And he just embraced it, which, kudos to the guy for just embracing it and saying, fuck it, I can make money off it, I can make a career off of it. And most people can't do that for very long once they become kind of like their own punchline. But for some reason, Hasselhoff has been able to pull off this career of like, aren't I so ridiculous? Aren't I a joke? And somehow he's still beloved. But he really is beloved. I think that's one of the things that's kept him being able to keep going, is the fact that like you can't deny his fame and success, especially in Germany as a singer. Like, he was just fucking beloved over there. And that's gonna, be able to kind of silence any haters for him. This is pre-internet as well. But yeah, we get some jokes with him. He's got the thing with the kid, and he saves the kid finally because he wants to finally be a lifeguard for the first time ever, and he keeps calling the kid like a ginger idiot, and the whole movie ends on him calling a ginger idiot after the kid dies. He saves him, and then he ends up dying anyway. That's pretty funny. The Hasselhoff stuff in this is fine. Like, he runs, and he's like, oh, I'm getting old, I'm out of breath. Like, it's all fine. I don't know. I don't have any nostalgia for him. I've never watched an episode of Baywatch in my entire life. Me, the boobs guy. Those are just not my kinds of chicks. I think that's what steered me away from him. The Yasmin Bleeths and the Pamela Andersons. Like, that's just not my kind of chick in the slightest. And they're not actually showing nudity, so I don't really care. And you've got Ving Rhames coming back. The water scene with him, where he's telling the guy from Human Giant to push him in the water. That scene's fucking hilarious. That whole scene is fucking hilarious. Really funny scene. I really like that. He's like, I ain't afraid of no pussy ass water. Push my pussy ass in the water. All this stuff. This is funny as fuck. And then the girl comes over and she's like yelling at him, like, stop, like, what are you doing? Don't do that. And he's like, no, like, that whole scene is really funny. And it genuinely feels like something that's like a tough guy would do. Where he's like, no matter what I say, don't listen to me. And then like he's like, no, please don't. And he's like, he stops and he's like, why'd you stop? He's like, no matter what I say. That was funny. I found that scene to be really, really fucking funny. And then he goes to save people and somehow has time to like say, give me my legs, which come out of nowhere, and has a shotgun on him. But the guy doesn't seem to didn't know there was a shotgun, but he brought him in for him and put them on him, but somehow is like surprised when he has a shotgun on his legs. None of these shit makes sense, but he has enough time to pull him out, clip him in, for him to slowly walk over to the water to then help someone who's on a raft 3 feet away from the edge, and would be piranha food anyways, because they can come up through these rafts and everything. Like, none of the movie makes any fucking sense. And he goes in and they're like biting his titanium legs and he's shooting shotgun shells into the water, which the person he's trying to save and all the people that are right there in front of them are also like around the fish that are getting shot, and he doesn't shoot any of the people. I don't ask questions. Titanium, motherfucker. He turned into Sam Jackson. I don't think he says motherfucker, does he? I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe I'm just being racist and saying that Samuel Jackson and Ving Rhames are the same person. They are certainly not, but they are both in Pulp Fiction. So somehow that makes them the same. So John Travolta and Bruce Willis are the same now. Anyway, moving on. And the fact that the guy goes back and starts fucking the water hole again while the park is currently open and out for the public to see is next level insane. And then he gets a piranha up his ass, which the guy has to take out, and then somehow later he pours fucking chlorine into the water, liquid chlorine into the water, and then lights a match or like a joint, I think, or whatever. I don't know what it is. And he throws it down and it blows up, and it blows up all of the fish out of the water and whatever. Like, what the fuck is this scene? I looked it up just to see, and liquid chlorine is not flammable. So I don't know what this scene is. If he would have put pure sodium in there, and they had a ton of that, and then he like pushed it down, and like pressurized and then it would flush out. That's like the gag, and when they throw that shit in the toilets. I learned that from the movie The Brain, of all things. So I don't understand the blowing up the water scene, but this movie's not trying to be okay. I need to stop saying that. And then when freaking Champ from Anchorman, sees the woman dead, and he's like, it's not my fault, and he gives her like some petty cash, and the chick's holding up like a $1 bill. It's a little kid, and then he backs over her with the golf cart and stuff, and then he runs forward, and then this girl with big boobs is running at him, and he looks at him long enough to like not see the rope that's coming ahead, and it cuts his freaking head off, which then flies into a pair of really bloody double D tits, which he let into the park for free, I guess, because if you have double D's, you can come in for free, I think is what he said. Are they taking bra measurements? Like, what the fuck? Anyway, he like, his decapitated head basically motorboats the tits and then is thrown into the water, which then it gets on the cooch cam. This is, explaining some of the scenes in this movie is crazy. It's fucking crazy. And why I had a good time watching it. The cop leaves Maddie to die, so then Barry jumps in the water, and then he like jumps back out of the water, or gets back out of the water, and he's like, that was a bad idea. So then he gets the spear and he throws it down there, and he perfectly hits the freaking thing, and then the spear comes up later and kills the cop. But the cop runs off, leaves her, and then he grabs like a cinder block and jumps into the water because she's sucked to the bottom. Very Final Destination 4, the Final Destination, very similar, and that's a 3D movie. And this one where the guy gets his ass stuck to the thing and then his organs are pulled out through his ass or his intestines or whatever. Similar scene there, but she does not get her intestines sucked through her ass. But he comes down there, and then as soon as he grabs her, then we cut to him walking her out of the water at like 3 feet's depth. How she was down there for so long for him to be able to jump in the water, figure out how to get back out, go run, find a freaking trident like he's Ariel's father, throw it into the water, then find a cinder block, rope it to himself, go into the water, grab her, walk her over, and get out of the water. Like, dude, how long would that all take? I mean, I know Tom Cruise can hold his breath for 6 minutes underwater, but didn't Kate Winslet break his record recently on Avatar? Avatar Way of Water or Avatar Fire and Ash? I don't know. But I think it was Kate Winslet, right? It's because she's got all that practice on Titanic. Anyway. And then, he brings her up. I don't, once again, I have no idea. How the fuck, all of a sudden is like he jumps down in and he's like 20 feet down. He's like 20,000 leagues under the sea, fucking the abyss, and then he's in freaking 3-4 feet of water 1 second later. This makes no sense. And then the mouth to mouth he gives her is straight up kiss for the first like 5 seconds of it, and then his lips kind of like, or his like cheeks puff out. He's giving her that Wendy peppercorn. She keeps lotioning and lotioning, oiling. I can't take it no more. Name that movie. Speaking of lifeguards. And then, they're walking now. Kind of knocks the kid's head off. The movie ends with a kid with his head knocked off, and then the credits roll, and it's like showing shots of the kid's dead body. I mean, this movie is fucking insane. I wish more people enjoyed it. I wish more people had a good time with it. I'm probably making a lot of noise in the mic right now because I'm antsy to go to bed. It's 1:47 in the morning, and I already recorded an hour and 20-minute long teeth review tonight, and then after that watched this and reviewed it. I'm a psychopath. I really am. I need to go to bed. That's it. Piranha 3D. Hope you got your money's worth. I give it my all. I give it, I go off on a lot of ridiculous tangents and talk about so many fucking insane things. Ugh, I need to have my head checked, guys. Anyway, that's that. I'm out. I gotta go to bed. Adios.